Hi Sewing Bees, I'm Sookie and welcome to the Beehive. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make the zipper catch-all. The little zipper starts at the base and opens up to the top, and inside there are 4 mini pockets that will hold all of your notions and a little place for your wonder clips. What's really cool is the entire thing will stand up by itself on your desk next to your sewing machine, and if you want to see your notions a little more easily, you could just pull the back down. Now, I originally designed this in 2017 and eventually ended up taking the video down just simply because the production was pretty terrible. So this is the new and improved version, and you can also download the new and improved version of the pattern. It will be the first link in the description below. So grab your machine and let's get stitching. You can check the link in the description for all of the different notions that I'll be using for this project, including the various presser feet. Go ahead and thread your machine with a brand new needle and matching thread in the top and the bobbin. For your materials, you are going to need an outside and a lining for your mane. You'll also need a piece of material that's for the base. And then you're also going to need a piece for the pocket. And then you're also going to need a piece for the binding. Now the binding is going to be cut on the bias, which means on the 45-degree angle. So you will need a large enough piece for your binding. Now when it comes to the batting, you're going to want something that is a thin, lightweight, fusible batting, and I'm actually using the OESD Fuse and Fleece, but you can use whatever brand you'd like, and this is going to be for your mane, for the outside and for the inside. Also need a piece for the base, and then lastly you'll need a little pocket batting. So all of your measurements will be in the description below. And lastly, you're going to need a zipper that is at least 14 inches long, and you measure zippers from the metal stop to the metal stop. So in this case, this zipper is actually 14 inches from here to here. If you click the link in the description, you're going to find the pattern pieces so that you can make your very own zipper catch-all. There are a total of 5 pieces that you're going to need to print out, and you can go ahead and take your paper cutting scissors or your craft scissors and cut around all of the pieces. Once you have all your pattern pieces cut out, you'll notice that some of them are for batting and the rest are for the actual fabric. So let's go ahead and cut all of our materials according to the pattern pieces. Okay, now that we have all of our fabric and our batting pieces cut out, let's set up to do some pressing. Let's begin our pressing by pressing the scratchy side of the main batting pieces to the wrong side of the main outside and the main lining pieces. Now go ahead and fold the base in half, and you'll probably already have it folded since that's how you would have cut it. Just want to make sure you give it a good press and make that fold a nice crease. And then we're going to be adding the batting to our base. You're going to want to make sure that whatever side you want ultimately shown exposed on the outside will not have the batting. So in this case, we'll just call this the outside, and that's where you'll put the batting. For right here will be in the inside. Now take your pocket and fold it in half, and you're going to want the width to be the 6.5. Press it, and just like our base, we're going to be adding the batting on the inside. And then as far as your binding goes, remember it is on the 45-degree angle, so this way it will wrap around the bottom of our curve nicely. So we're just going to fold that in half, wrong sides together, down the full length. Press it. And you can set this aside for now. We don't need it for a little bit. Let's go ahead and take our pocket, and we're going to place it right sides together. Here and here, back stitch at the top and the bottom at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now that we have the sides stitched on our pocket, let's just turn it right side out. And then go ahead and press it one more time. Let's go ahead and fold our lining wrong sides together just so that we can find the center. And then we're going to do the same for our pocket. And now let's align the bottom edge, all the raw edges here of the pocket, with that. We're going to line it up with the center, in the center of the pocket. We're going to be stitching down each side, down the center, and then we're also going to find the center of those centers and draw a line. So head to the machine and we're going to be stitching 1/4 inch in from each of the sides of the pocket. We're going to stitch down the center of the pocket, and then we're going to create 2 more little tiny pockets. So we're going to put that aside, and now let's head over to our base. We're going to do some marking on our base, and the first one is we're going to mark from the folded edge down. We're going to be marking this with the batting toward the table here, and we're going to be measuring down 3.5 inches from the folded edge, and we're going to place a mark on the side for both sides. Then we're going to measure down 3.25 inch, and we're also going to mark. Okay, so now let's go ahead and we are going to be stitching our base to our lining. And ultimately, it's going to be stitched along the sides here and here, and then the little curved part will go at the bottom, and that will, of course, be the base. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that first mark, that was the 3.5 inches, we're gonna line that up with the bottom edge of our lining. So we're going to be stitching from the folded edge down to that first mark, that 3.25, and back stitch there, and that'll leave that little extra 1/4 inch right here. And you're going to have a scant 1/4 inch because we're going to be coming back through and stitching again. And then we're going to repeat the process while we're at the machine. Okay, this looks really good. What we did was we stitched along the 2 sides. Let's set this aside and grab the outside piece. We're gonna do just like on the lining, we're gonna find the center along the top and the bottom. Now let's go ahead and prepare our zipper. We wanted to have a 14-inch zipper, and remember the way that you measure a zipper is from the metal tips to the metal tips. That's the actual zipper length. It's got nothing to do with the extra here. What we're gonna do is just get rid of all the metal pieces. So at the bottom of the zipper, we want to do 2 marks. We're going to do a 1/2 inch mark straight across, and then we're going to do a 1 inch mark. We're going to be stitching our zipper so that the opening is at the bottom. So it's going to ultimately zip open like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to be stitching our zipper so that we have the right sides together at that mark. But before we do that, let's go ahead and open our zipper the best we can without going past this line. So what I recommend is using a wonder clip just so that you kind of don't accidentally pull it too far. So now we've got our zipper pull to where that 1/2 inch mark was. We definitely don't want to pull this off if we can avoid it. And so we're going to be taking our zipper and placing it right sides together and aligning the second mark, which was the 1 inch mark. And the 1 inch mark is going to get lined up with that top of our outside right there, and that's where we're going to begin our stitching. And for now, that's where we're going to begin our clipping. All right, so now we're going to be stitching from that 1 inch mark all the way down to the end of the zipper. We're going to be stitching this at a scant 1/4 inch. I am going to recommend that you either put your zipper presser foot on, or I'm going to be using a narrow presser foot. And just make sure that you adjust the needle back and forth as needed to not break a needle, and you just want to make sure that the needle is definitely working with the presser foot. So let's go set our machine up. All right, this looks really good. And ultimately, like I said, the case will close from the top to the bottom. So you're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So we're going to want to be stitching from this side up to this side. And when you get to the zipper, you might find that it wants to get in your way. Just do what you need to. You can put that zipper pull toward the outside, but let's go ahead and start stitching all the way to the top, back stitch, and clip your thread tails. Okay, nice job. So we have the zipper attached to our outside from the top here all the way down to the bottom. And now it's time to attach our lining. You're just going to put right sides together, and we're going to align the bottom edge of our lining with the bottom edge of our outside. And we're going to start stitching at that mark. We're going to go all the way around the curve and to the bottom. And again, just like before, we're going to stop stitching a 1/4 inch above the bottom. Really good. You sewed your 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around, and now we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. And this time we're going to start at the bottom. Again, remember, don't sew that first 1/4 inch. We're going to go all the way around to the top. And when you get to the top, we're obviously not going to be stitching all the way to that point. We're going to be stitching to the point on the other side of the zipper, which is kind of fading away, but I can still see it. And that's where we're going to stop stitching, and then we'll go from there. So we've done our stitching, and now what we need to do is tuck the zipper pull inside so that it's facing the front of the outside and lining. And I'm just going to kind of tuck it in with my fingernail, pushing it in toward the project. All right, it looks really good. At this point, we just want to double check that we don't have any of our stitches exposed. And then next, we're just going to give this a little press. Next, we're going to attach our base, the curvy part, to the outside and the lining. And first what we're going to do is find the center of our base. So we're just going to put those wrong sides together and find that center curve. Okay, and believe it or not, we are going to stitch from the inside zipper area right here all the way around a scant 1/4 of an inch, because our next thing after this will be to attach the binding. Okay, this looks good, and I just want to point out that at this point, once you have your base stitched onto your main, which has your outside and your lining and the pocket, you just want to double check that everything is laying out right. So go ahead and close the zipper, but again, keep in mind that your zipper bottom doesn't exist. And the point of this though is to just make sure that everything is tucking in okay and that everything is lining up okay. And if I'm being completely honest, it looks like this side might be about 1/8 of an inch lower. So I just want to keep that in mind when I go to do my trimming. Okay, now let's attach our binding, and we are going to be attaching this with the base right side facing up, and we're going to place the long raw edge of the binding on the right side of the outside. We're going to wrap 1/2 inch of the binding around the end toward the front of the base, and we are going to use a clip to hold that in place. Have that binding facing the outside. Again, we're doing 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. When you get to the end, so cut off so that you only have about 1/2 inch, and then you're just going to wrap it toward the inside and finish stitching. So now we're going to flip the binding to what would be the bottom of the base to cover up our seam allowance. The other thing we want to do is just close our little zipper catch-all, because this is the last time we're going to be able to fix anything if there's any mistakes. And look at that, it lines up perfectly. And then now lastly, we're just going to try and get as much of that base out of the way. We're just going to kind of tuck it in, because we're going to be flipping our binding toward the back. However, we'll be stitching on the front side. All right, so let's head over and stitch all the way around the bottom of our binding. Okay, we've got it all done. We've attached our binding, we finished it all up. So I also went to the ironing board and I did a little press right here just to kind of help the base stand up a little better. But let's just close it up and make sure everything aligns. And it does. Look at that, how great it is. Now let's see what we can get inside our little zipper catch-all. Let's close it up, make sure it still is in functioning order. Look at that, fantastic. And there you go. Well, sewing bees, I really hope you enjoyed the new and improved version of the zipper catch-all. I also would love if you would share this video with one of your sewing friends. And also, if you have not already, please do consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And until I see you next time, I hope you have a creative day. Bye-bye.